Hello, everyone, and welcome to our daily drop update that is not daily because they don't release daily, but we're here to talk about the latest from the drops that are not daily here on Big Brother Canada 11. I am your host, Taran Armstrong. With me today, it's Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited for us to answer the age-old question. Do you go for a dinner, then a movie, or a movie, then dinner for a first date? These are the questions that we got answers to last night.
Man, yeah. Are you having popcorn?
I think popcorn might be if you're on a date, popcorn might be the move because you can share.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
But might ruin your appetite for dinner if you're having dinner after.
Exactly. And also the secret option is do not go for a movie for the first date. That is the ultimate answer. But, these are the things we have to talk about.
All right. Well, we are here to talk about the drop that we got today, which was of last night after the eviction. We saw Jonathan was evicted from the game, and Kuzi was crowned the new HOH in dramatic fashion as she competed against Claudia in the final round of the knockout competition. And Claudia likely would have been targeting Kuzi. And so Kuzi winning is a massive win for herself and her own safety.
Mm-hmm.
But we did get some information about her plans for nominations. Now, none of this may end up mattering, considering that there's a twist coming up, but it's worth keeping note of what Kuzi's plans are if they do end up, mattering.
Yeah.
So let's talk through what we saw from last night. We started the drop with Santina and Hope, who were talking about just the night, and Santina was saying she'd rather not say anything than be rude to those girls. Hope says, don't forget last week. And they're talking about something that Santina, she said, I had to say something when I was with them. I did say that I would eventually go after Kuzi, and Hope is like, yeah, I wish you didn't say that. And she says, well, what is Ty saying? And Hope says, I'm over Ty. I don't care what he's saying. It's, just a little bit of a back and forth here.
Just a tad. I think the key thing we're going to keep in mind going forward to the rest of the daily here is that the paranoia that Santina may have developed for herself by throwing out Kuzi's name to the girls that she is clearly no longer messing with.
Yes. So the real information here is going to come from Kuzi, Daniel, and Anika, who are chatting in the HOH room. And Kuzi is telling them what her plan is. We started the conversation with Daniel saying, if we're going to make that move, we need to be careful. I mean, he's going to blow things up. And Kuzi says, either way is okay, but we only have 4 weeks left. If these babes are weakened by one, they're not powerful anymore. Nobody will want to go after them after that. And I'll have set up a move for Ty and Santina to come after me because I don't believe that they'll go after each other. And this is Kuzi explaining that she's thinking about not targeting the girly pops and instead targeting Ty and Santina. She says, Santina told me something that Hope said, but when I asked Hope, he said he didn't say it. And I just don't know. When I told Ty that I might put up Renee and Shania, Ty said, no, put up Claudia. And he's already defending Santina and telling me not to put Santina up and instead put up Claudia. And I feel like Hope is protecting her too, because Hope didn't want to tell me something that Santina didn't want to tell me that Santina was scared about going up this week. It just makes me question. So I don't know. I'm feeling like if I'm putting Santina up, I have to put her up with Ty, because if I don't do that, Ty will win the veto, save Santina, and then there's nothing I can do about it. Or I can leave that completely alone and target the girls, but that will just set them up to come after us. And this is Kuzi's thought process. Daniel says, well, what about those girls? What if they win? And Kuzi says, well, there's still Santina to go after. And that is sort of what Kuzi is thinking. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, though.
Yeah, there's, a little terrifying. Maybe I'm quite happy that this fatal feast could come into play and nix all these plans. Maybe, but yeah, it's what's interesting here is that I think Kuzi now has won a second HOH, very close HOH, and is thinking 4 weeks left. There's a chance I don't get this chance again. Maybe I should stick something good on the resume. And then, of course, thinking if I take one of the 3 out, the other 2 will still be mad at me. Whereas if I take one of the 2 out, being Ty and Santina, it's one person versus the rest. This is, of course, assuming that if you do go after Santina and Ty, that the girly pops and you have a truce that will be kept. Personally, from my perspective, you don't have the girly pops no matter what you do. I think you're cooked there. You have to go after the girly pops. Ty and Santina, whether or not they'll look at you later, will still not be looking at you right now. These other 3 are looking at you already. So you give them that chance. You give them a third person to compete for the next HOH. That's not good for you. You can't compete. The odds will be less for you. So I'm very nervous at hearing these preliminary talks here.
Yeah. I think that like the thought process can make sense. The logic is there if you're looking at it from like, you know, an overview perspective. From what we have been able to see in the drops, from what we have been able to ascertain, Kuzi's reads are not correct on specifically the girly pops and specifically Santina. She actually has a good read on Ty, which we will see in a future conversation. But she is, as far as we know, misreading the girly pops pretty dramatically. We know that the girly pops have talked about not bothering with Santina and maybe not even bothering with Ty. But certainly if Ty is gone, they would not bother with Santina, at least according to what they were saying just a couple of days ago, and that they would definitely want to deal with Kuzi first, which not only is what they have actively said, but also makes considerably more sense. So you'd have to imagine that they would probably do that. And then in addition to that, Kuzi is very worried about Santina working with Ty and against her. But I think that is also a misread. I don't think Santina works with Ty. I think that Santina is perfectly fine going down to the end with the remnants of the crown and working anti-Ty, working anti these girls who she really doesn't like. I think that's where Santina's head is at, and I think that Kuzi is not reading Santina correctly here. And you know, Santina takes some fault with that because Santina is not exactly presenting her best front. But I do think that Kuzi is misreading the situation, and this move, maybe not the best.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It is funny to me that Daniel is the one saying, "Hey, maybe look at this side instead," because for Daniel, might be the best move potentially.
Yeah, it's seeing Daniel in this conversation is interesting because I feel like he's offering some pushback, but it almost felt like he was also thinking, how much pushback do I want to give here? Because this
Just
actually
enough.
isn't terrible for me, but it's also like so not the right move. So I don't know.
It's like, can you help yourself in that moment? Can you be self-interested? Or if you're really loyal to your group, think, I just can't let you make this mistake. I gotta help. I feel like that's where his mind was at. We'll see in the future days to come where he leads with it, but this would be ideal for him, and then by proxy for Anika as well.
Yeah. So Hope joins the conversation and he says, I just got a whole bunch of information. He says to Kuzi, Daniel, and Anika, he says, Ty truly believes that he's controlling everyone in the game. He told me that you targeting Santina would be an attempt to weaken him. And that's what he's worried about. And Kuzi is like, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Ty and Santina together. And Hope says, oh, but they're not working together, though. That's the thing. Ty thinks that they could be, but they're not. And Daniel says, yeah, see, if we go after Ty and Santina, I am worried about those girls next week. And Kuzi says, no, if I do the dirty work for these girls, they won't put 2 of us up on the block next week. Hope says, well, when you were doing your Wendy stuff, those girls were looking really annoyed. And remember how they told us we were overreacting for crying? Like, let's not forget that, right? Like, they are not with us. And Kuzi says both sides need to be tended to, but which side is more lethal? Hope says, I truly believe in my heart that if we target the girls right now, we can drag Ty along a little further. He thinks he has you like this. And Kuzi says, he's going to try and get me before I can get him. I just know it. I need to get him while I have the chance. And Hope says, okay, then it has to be a backdoor because we can't put him up and have him win the veto. And she says, no, I can't have him win the veto and use it on Santina. It has to be both Santina and Ty on the block. She says, I have a feeling you're looking at these girls like they're big sharks. He says, I truly do. She says, you don't see Ty as more threatening? He says, I do, but he thinks he's controlling everything right now. Like he's going after them. You don't, and she says, you don't think the girls will jump at a temporary alliance? If this is my last move in the game, at least let it be strong. And he says, okay. I mean, if that's the move, I support you 100%. It's a back and forth here.
It is a back and forth here. This is, in the debate last week of should they keep Jonathan versus should they keep Hope? Hope, good to keep, loyal to them to a fault. That's good for them. However, they don't really listen to Hope because it's Hope. So Hope could be speaking the facts of facts here. It's not going to really fall that strongly. But I will agree with Kuzi here. No matter who she's choosing to nominate, she has to put both from the same side up. Because what you don't want is to put one from each side up, and this is in her head, Ty and Santina being a side and the girly pop being a side. You put one of each, one of them saves the other side, then you debate. I don't love that. You're pissing a lot of people off if you're looking at it from her perspective.
Yeah. Well, Kuzi says, I want you to understand. If I take out a girl, Ty will be coming after me and he'll be feeding to Santina, and I promise you she will bite. Daniel's like, will she though? I don't think she will. And Hope tries again to explain, no, Santina is isolated right now. She's crying. I'm telling you, she's not targeting you. And Kuzi says, well, why is she crying when I've told her she's good? She clearly believes nothing that I say. She thinks there's no way the girls let Ty or Santina stay next week. That if Santina's in the game, the girls will nominate Santina and one of them. If Ty is in the game, they'll nominate Ty and one of them, and they won't nominate two of them. Again, we have heard these conversations straight up that they have had about nominating two of them, and that was while Ty and Santina were both still in the game, let alone just one of them. So again, I feel like this is definitely a bit of a misread here from Kuzi. Especially when she is likely going to be the person they are targeting. She says that, granted, it is certainly possible that maybe she does win some goodwill with the girly pops from this move, and maybe they do. It doesn't make any sense for them. Like it's possible. They're not exactly like making the best decisions, the girly pops, all the time, but if they have an opportunity to take out Kuzi next week and they don't take it, they're out of their minds. And I don't think they're that out of their minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, these conversations are interesting because we genuinely don't even know if it's going to play a factor given that this Fatal Feast is upcoming. But it is intriguing to see where their minds are at because, like you discussed last night, on a potential what could this Fatal Feast look like, if it's like a safety chain like last season, or is it basically if it is a all-out debate at a table, all of these conversations will matter quite a bit. Again, we're talking numbers here. There's 3 on one side. If you're even putting Ty and Santina, that's 2 on the other side. You take the 1 out of the 2, then someone from the 3 wins. That means one person goes up if you're assuming your truce worked. Let's say Santina's still in the house. Santina goes up. One person from your side has to go up there. Absolutely has to. Who do you think is going up? Think about that, because I think it's still going to be you, given everything that's gone up. But obviously, like we have the benefit of seeing it from the outside, whereas she might still feel a little bit better about her standing with the girly pops.
Not to mention the fact that I haven't seen her consider the fact that with Ty and Santina on the block together, what happens if one of them wins the veto? She now has to dip into the girly pop nominations
regardless
in order to replace. And now she has done the thing, which is pissing off both sides. So she says, initially my plan was to target the girls until Santina started waffling. I don't know if that was an intentional pun, but That's I kind of believe her,
Mhm.
but I think it's a misread, especially when we consider the conversation that Santina is about to have with Ty. Um,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It is a misread, but also Santina is fully to blame for this misread. Santina's behavior does not match up with the behavior of someone who's happy with the current HOH winner, right? Being in a corner, crying, being nervous about being put up. These are not good things. This is self-fulfilling prophecy happening in front of our eyes. And I do think that Santina doesn't want to work with the girly pops and that Kuzi's not on her power ranking for the next HOH if she was to win. But this is not a good job of showing that confidence to Kuzi. If Kuzi's like, you're good, and you're like, I'm still going to be worried about it, that's not good. That is not a good thing to do.
yeah, to be fair to Santina, and again, this is tough because there's a lot we're not seeing, but to be fair to Santina, there are a couple of factors here. One is that she has Ty in her ear, like she's gonna put you up. She's targeting you. I promise you, she's gonna put you
fully.
up. And number two, the last time Kuzi was HOH, she put her up without telling her, with no explanation. And so I think reasonable to be like, yeah, I'm a little worried. I'm hoping that we can work together, but like, last time I thought that you put me on the block, so hopefully that doesn't happen this time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely other factors going into it. It's like you need them both in a room to talk, and they, spoiler alert, do at the end of the drop. So we'll discuss that when we get there.
Yeah, and it doesn't go well. So Ty talks to Santina, and now Kuzi's read on Ty is correct. And I have to imagine that more so than Santina, even Ty's actions this week, or this night, I should say, have really been what's gotten into Kuzi's head. Because Ty's attitude, his confidence, arrogance, has sort of given Kuzi a false image of who Santina is. Ty is so confident that he has Santina and can convince Santina to do whatever he wants that Kuzi believes that that is true as well. And to be fair to Kuzi, there is also evidence that Ty has sway over Santina, considering the fact that week one happened. And this I think is also like, Santina is hard to believe. We mentioned this in week one when Santina made that move against John Michael. Kuzi said multiple times that week, I will remember this. Santina is not reliable. And I think she has held that perspective throughout the game. Now, I personally think that Santina has sort of grown and changed throughout the game, and is a much more reliable person in that regard now than she was before. But that's hard to see when you're in the game. So, I can understand that perspective as well. But Ty is trying to explain. He says, listen, me, you, and Hope are a group. Kuzi, Daniel, Anika are a group. Claudia, Renee, Shania, they're a group. We are the most dominant group in this house. Like, why? Because if I'm thinking about it, like the competition odds are actually Kuzi's got 2, Daniel has 1, Santina has 2, Ty has 1, Hope has 1. So
And
it's not
Shania has
that
1.
far off. Yeah, and then Shania has 1. So like, yeah, the girly pops are lagging behind, but you're only 1 comp up on the Kuzi group right now, sir. I get it though, because let's face it, those endgame comps are really going to favor Ty and Hope. But he says we're more dangerous, so they will keep trying to knock us out. He says Kuzi's going to target one of us because the girls aren't as dangerous, and he feels this way because of how he was talking to Kuzi about targeting Claudia, and Kuzi kept bringing up Santina, and he kept having to say no to Santina. So he's saying, Santina, you are in danger. She was going to backdoor you. She's going to put 2 of those girls up on the block and then backdoor one of us. I promise you. And Santina says, I don't think she's going to do that. I don't believe that. Kuzi has been telling me, and maybe I could be wrong, but Kuzi's been telling me that she wants to go to the end with strong people. And she wants to, and I want to just stay away from those girls. And I know she does. And they know what they did. They suck. I hate them. And I think that Kuzi is good. And Ty says, well, that's how I feel. I would rather lose to strong players. And Santina says, yeah, that's what Kuzi told me. And you know what? I would rather lose to Kuzi. I'm fine losing to Kuzi. I'm not going after her. She's not, and she's going after those girls before she's going after us. So I think we're fine. And he says, I don't know. I think you need to convince her of that. And she's like, every time I talk to Kuzi, she questions me and makes me feel like I'm acting paranoid. And so I don't want to like mess things up. But like, I think that we should be okay. I mean, if she puts me up and I leave, she's going to regret that because those girls are after her. And this is, again, it's like, this is the Santina that Kuzi needs to see, because I just, if Kuzi puts Santina on the block, and man, let's say even Ty wins that veto, and now it's Santina that's leaving. Santina is one of the last people that should be leaving for Kuzi's game, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think Santina, to me, Ty and Santina are not a duo. Let's make that clear. I don't really see
absolutely
that
not
at all. For me, if she really doesn't want to go after girly pops and wants to shoot the middle, you shoot Ty. I think Santina's someone she can hold on to and she'll be fine with. But again, it doesn't help that Santina in her mind goes into the combos with Kuzi with the guard completely up because she's worried that she's going to get questioned and it's going to make her paranoid. And then she's going to give off that paranoid energy that she's been avoiding giving to Kuzi. That's like a bad circle you're in now that you've kind of caused for yourself, but also there's other factors in it. But also, you just discussed Kuzi's thoughts in week 1 and how that may have all, brought all of it together here. So there's a couple things at play here. And I'm still very, very intrigued how much Ty thinks he's got hope in his pocket.
Yeah, because he really doesn't have hope. Yeah, but that's the thing. Ty doesn't have hope, and he doesn't have Santina either. But Kuzi, and that's the thing. Like, Kuzi's been part of pumping Ty's tires, and making him believe he has people he doesn't have. But it's almost like she created a monster and now she's scared of the monster. Like, she's like, but what if he actually does have those people? He's so confident that he does. But he doesn't. But what if he does? And so I think she's concerned about that. And yeah, I think, look, if you want to target Ty, I think that is a somewhat viable option. I think it's just so simple. It's Ty and Claudia on the block. It's, hey, you two are a showmance. Maybe you're recently broken up. I'm not sure. I don't know what the state of your current relationship is. But you're targeting Ty and you're putting Claudia on the block next to Ty, and that makes a lot of sense. The girly pops are coming after you anyway. Quite frankly, from the moment that you had Santina as a vote against Jonathan, you should have been pulling Santina into the crown. You should have been saying, Santina, you're with us. You're in a 5-person alliance. She would have eaten that up. Jonathan would have helped facilitate it. Hey, I want you to work with these people. Hey, Jonathan maybe even puts the group together theoretically for you, right? Santina would be locked in. You don't have to put Santina on the block. And now you have Santina firmly on your side instead of putting her on the block next to Ty. And yeah, she hates the girly pops, but this is the second time Kuzi's put her on the block. If she does stay, like, even if she's not directly coming right back after you, she's also not with you, which means she's not a threat to the girly pops, which gives them even less incentive to go after her instead of you. There's just, I mean, we're missing a lot, but it seems like they're missing a lot.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of blanks to be. Again, the wildest thing to me is we're here breaking all this down, and it might not even matter.
I mean, look,
at all.
Last time she put Vanessa on the block, which I felt was a huge mistake. And then, hey, Vanessa ended up leaving and she ended up getting to do a different nomination, which was better.
All worked out.
And it worked out fine. So, maybe we're all right here. Maybe this twist will do again for Kuzi what happened before. But yeah, definitely a bit worried about this plan. Ty does say to Santina, he says, I know Claudia wants that moment on TV of taking me out. And he doesn't want her to give her that satisfaction. And so Ty seemingly is actually pushing for Claudia, which again, I was like, man, when Kuzi won that HOH, I was like, okay, taking out Renee is not actually the play. You take out Claudia. The connection between, because if Renee leaves, that was the barrier between Ty and Claudia. We've seen this before. When there's a barrier, like Zach leaves, they get closer again. If you target Renee leaves, maybe Ty and Claudia are able to reconnect.
They have before. Way. They've rekindled in the past.
Exactly. But how do you convince Ty to be okay with sending Claudia out without pissing him off? Man, this is a tricky one, because if you leave Renee in the game, Renee and Ty are never working together. Let's be real. So how do you realistically get Claudia out without pissing off Ty. That's the tricky part of this week. And then the first thing Ty says to her is, we got to get Claudia out. And I'm like, oh, she just gave it to her. He just gave it to her.
It's right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because to me, you look at the conversation last week. If you are taking out a girly pop, take out the girly pop who was willing to hear you out. The one that was willing to have a combo. Renee clearly was drawing lines in the sand. It was not at all working with what you were giving. So I feel like getting Claudia out does sever that duo completely on an island and keeps Ty on an island and keeps you in a better spot. And if you do not think for a second with Claudia on the block that Ty isn't going to be shady all the way through to the eviction and really hold the vote over her head, it's Ty. He's going to ruin his own game anyway. It'll be fine.
Yeah. And by doing what Ty seemingly wants, this is like taking Dan out the week that Ty wanted Dan out. It's like terrible for Ty's game. But doing so would make him feel like he's running the show even more. He'll continue to act like Ty, pissing off Santina, pissing off Hope, pissing off Shania and Renee.
I'm pissed.
And he'll continue to be a massive target in front of everyone, while also also feeling like you trust him because you were doing work with him, and he has to deal with people like Hope and Santina and Shania and Renee. So I don't know. I feel like that's probably the better play here, but again, it might not even matter. Kuzi's going to talk to Santina. Santina says, "Hey, Kuzi, do you want to talk?" And Kuzi's like, "Sure. I mean, I need to talk to other people too, but yeah, okay." She says, "Listen, I've heard you were crying. Why were you crying?" Santina. And Santina says, "Honestly, just because of Jonathan. I mean, Jonathan left, and I was really sad about it. And I can't stand those girls. And I'm really upset about all of the Jonathan stuff. And listen, if you think I'm worried, it's because I am. I feel kind of alone, and I'm going to be honest, you're not really telling me what you're going to do, which is the same thing you did last time when you put me on the block. So I'm like a little bit worried. I'll be honest." And Kuzi says, "Santina, I have no reason to be lying to you. I've already told you you're not going on the block, and you have no reason to not trust me. So you being worried makes me worried. So it's almost to the point where it's like, should I just forget about those girls or what?" And Santina says, No, please don't forget about them. This is exactly what I'm worried about. I'm trying to not to overwhelm you too much. And Kuzi's like, "Good, don't, because that's what those girls are doing." She's like, "Okay, good, because I will trust you. I'm telling you now, I am willing to trust you, and I want to work with you, and I trust you." And Kuzi says, "It's just making me anxious that you're worried. Just the fact that you're worried just makes me so worried." And that's kind of how the drop ends.
Yeah, a bit of a cliffhanger drop there. It's night one, a fresh night of sleep. Your allies talking to you some more. Who knows what we're going to get today? And by today, I mean just like factually, not necessarily that we're going to get a drop tomorrow. We'll see where that goes. One other thing, Taran, is that there was a brief talk when the Crown was in the HOH room about looking for a special power of veto. So that, I feel like the showing us Daniel going through some stuff, I think it's about to come into play in some capacity. I have to imagine.
It could have something to do with the twist, or that could be a separate one coming up. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that makes me skeptical about the finding of a thing being the feast is that she talked about like they're sitting down for the fatal feast, which implies to me that they're not like moving around looking for things.
No, I don't think so. I think they'll have to be like stationary. Think traders. I think it's going to be like traders where they're all at the round table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. A safety chain, what I suggested last night, something like a safety chain would be huge for Kuzi because it would prevent her from having to nominate Santina. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, the way that a safety chain would probably play out with Kuzi maybe picking Daniel, who picks Anika, who picks Hope. Hope is picking Santina, I think. And if Hope picks Santina, then I mean, maybe Santina just picks Ty at that point because she really does not like the girly pops. And then just like that, Kuzi's managed to take out the girly pops, and it's Santina that did it and not her. Right? So I
be
feel like
magical.
that would not be terrible. The problem is I do think she's already done some damage here. Ty is already very skeptical, and now she's made it pretty clear to Santina that she doesn't really trust her. So you know, it's we'll see. We'll see where all this goes.
Yeah. So, Taran, another question here. This is a fatal feast, emphasis on feast. There's these Wendy's points. Do you think the two are going to be in any connection? Because I do have the updated leaderboard here for us to potentially talk about, but we also don't know what that could mean for this fatal feast.
I'm assuming that the points will not come into play, mostly because that would like sort of prematurely end that sponsorship angle, right? You kind of want to keep the points going until the end, like the doors.
I feel like
you know?
that's around when I'm imagining like Final Four is when it's going to come into play, which is not good if it's a whole advantage, but whatever. Yeah. So we'll see, because we're guaranteed based on the language last night, this is going to be on Tuesday night show, meaning it's happening this weekend, right? Or Monday or something.
I'm honestly, I was a little surprised we even got a drop today. I'm assuming that means that they did not do this on Thursday night, which means I would imagine they're going to do it before noms. So
surely,
or something along those lines. I would imagine it would happen soon. Especially if they want to like edit it for Tuesday. So that might mean we don't get a drop tomorrow, or it might mean we get a drop tomorrow that happened before the twist. Or maybe they do, maybe they do it Saturday when in place of the veto competition. Who knows?
Yeah, but because then we're still getting an eviction on Thursday as well, then
I think so, right?
So then that means we have to have more days for the veto, for the nom day. Like they need that cycle. It's going to be fast, but it would not be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's not a live thing.
Right.
So
maybe they would do it in place of nominations. Then Saturday, in place of a veto comp, they can play HOH, or maybe even play the HOH right away on Friday.
Sunday
and then get veto in on Saturday, the normal time.
I see.
Right, like something along those lines, maybe like just speed things up a bit so then they can get back to a regular schedule. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. So I think honestly, ultimately, Kuzi just earned safety for the fatal feast, if anything. They better not let her noms and then fatal feast happens. That is stupid. That is bad. Don't do that. So
speaking of Jonathan, I did talk to Jonathan today. And I discussed his thoughts on the crown. When we're talking about should they have kept Jonathan or Hope, Jonathan did tell me, and it doesn't always mean that it's honest. Jonathan did tell me that he would have taken Kuzi to the final two. That would have been who he would have taken.
Yeah, he's been very complimentary of her. I watched the TikTok eviction yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, no, Kuzi," like, because he said he would think Kuzi's got this. Like, Kuzi's a force to be reckoned with. She's my queen. I've told her that plenty. So he's very much a fan of Kuzi. Now, all the way to the final two, it's Jonathan. So I don't think he has a reason to lie to us, right?
I don't think so. I think he really might have done it. He went as far as to say, when talking about the crown and who he would, I had him rank the members of the crown in order of most likely to least likely he would vote for. Kuzi was number 1, Daniel number 2, Anika number 3. He said, "Sorry, Hope is last."
Oh, he did give his points to Hope for Wendy's. Wow, Hope is last. I would have assumed 2 after Kuzi.
I would have as well. It really made me like, we're missing both Dan now and Jonathan have talked about Daniel like pretty positively. And it's just like, we're not seeing these relationships, but clearly Daniel continues to do good work that we just don't see at all. So interesting. Definitely check out the Jonathan. I thought it was very. I mean, this guy is so like. I talked to him for 10 minutes and wasn't allowed to, like give him anything.
Of course.
And he still was like somehow managed to make me feel like he cared about me and would be my friend. So this guy has an energy to him. He's great.
He's legitimately probably the nicest person we've seen in the house ever. Like, it absolutely gave that energy the whole way through, all the way to the end. Did you, because I didn't get a chance to listen to it yet, did you go through like each person left to see his thoughts? Yep. Who is he like after Ty, I'm assuming? Who is he least, like most down on?
Well, first of all, as expected, he found something nice to say about everyone.
Classic Jonathan.
He well, I don't want to give too much of the interview away, but he said that he felt like Renee was playing the worst game.
I should have said except for Ty and Renee. I messed up. That was my bad, but I get one question, so it's fine. I'll listen to it after this.
All right. So yeah, at the end of the day, maybe Jonathan would have been the better one to keep at this point, but because that's the other thing about this move is that even if it does play out for Kuzi the way that she's thinking, even if she does manage to get through, maybe the girly pops don't win, maybe they do target Santina because they feel grateful to Kuzi, whatever the case may be. I don't think they would, because again, it's just like if you could choose Santina or Kuzi, even Hope or Kuzi, you don't target the person on their own, because Santina has no like real solid connection to Daniel and Anika. So if you take out Kuzi, then now there's Daniel and Anika, and then there's Santina, and then there's, it's like it's all over the place. Versus Kuzi, who's just so connected. And I feel like they've been targeting her for a while.
You look at anybody if you're the girly pops, you look at anyone outside the girly pops that isn't Kuzi, you're like, yeah, Kuzi's connected to them, so Kuzi should go. Now, are they going to be able to put that together and logic that in to do that? If Kuzi gives them the niceties this week, who knows? But we can see it. That's why I'm so nervous about this, Taran.
But here's my even greater concern. Even if it all goes well, and even if she manages to get through that part, taking out Ty and or Santina this week takes out another person that like she has an end game with potentially. I talked about this last week when or a couple days ago when she was talking to Santina, and I was saying locking in with Santina would be so good for Kuzi because Daniel and Anika are not a good end game for her. They're taking each other. They're not going to take Kuzi. Daniel and Anika I don't think they will ever take Kuzi. I think Daniel at the very least, if he were to win, I think would take almost anybody in this game over Kuzi. He knows he loses to Kuzi. Anika might take Kuzi if Daniel's not there, but why would Daniel not be there?
That's the thing, right? It's that in order for Kuzi to be at the end game with one of the shady bunch in the final two seats, one of them would have had to leave, probably more likely Daniel. Daniel's on no one's lips right now. And, it would take a certain circumstance for Anika to be the one to go.
And the girly pops, none of them will ever take Kuzi to the final two. They all know they lose against her, and they don't even like her. And I think they would take literally almost anyone over Kuzi to the final two, which leaves Santina, Ty, and Hope as people that could theoretically. And now I think Ty probably the least likely of that bunch. But I think even Hope would probably take a couple people over Kuzi. And it's like, who would he not take over Kuzi if they're in the end? It's like, I don't know. I don't know exactly where Hope's head would be at, but okay, hopefully, but you're also kind of putting Hope in a line of fire by keeping the girly pops in. And then Santina, who I think genuinely, if you locked in with Santina, she has nobody. She's got maybe Hope, but if you could lock in with Santina, that would be so good for you. A final three with Hope and Santina wouldn't be the worst thing in the world at all. And a final three with just one of them and maybe Anika would be even better. But I just feel like you're starting to look at the path for her to get to the final two, and it's just like, how does she get there unless she wins out? And so in that sense, taking Ty out would be good, and maybe Hope. Take out the biggest physical threats, and then hope that you can just crush some of these endgame comps. I don't know. But definitely a concerning drop for Kuzi today. But this twist again could change everything.
Fingers crossed. We'll see. Will a fresh night's sleep change some things? Maybe. There's enough fluidity in this house that I could, buy into. We see a whole different scenario play in our faces tomorrow if there's a drop. If not, that means the Fatal Feast is underway, and that means no noms happen, which means a lot of what we talked about is for the next HOH train to worry about. And I have to assume Kuzi will not be partaking in that because she won this one. So she'll be out of that contention for sure.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, that's what we have for you then today. Thank you all for joining us. I will be back tomorrow, assuming that there is a drop. If there is not, then we will likely see you from the next update on Wednesday.
Oh, God.
I think we probably can still do a roundtable, even if we get nothing else. It could be very interesting to see that we could be wildly off. But we'll do our best. And then, we'll just continue to work with what we've got here moving forward. Make sure you check out the recap we did last night. I thought it was very fun. Check out the Jonathan exit interview. I'm going to be recording with Shannon about this week's Survivor. Should be a very interesting one. Lots of heavy, big topics about the future of Survivor this week. So definitely a good time to be talking to Shannon. So make sure you check that out when that drops. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, hanging out, playing some games, watching these shows live with all of you. Make sure you check out robhasawebsite.com/Toronto if you want to get tickets for the live show coming up in May for the finale of Big Brother Canada 11. And check out the final Among Us video that I posted with some footage from that sequester game from long ago that Aman and I played. So check all of that out. Pooya, what do you got going on?
Well, I will also be talking Survivor this week. Mike Bloom taking a night off, and when the BNB's gone, the PNP is in play. Myself and Peridium will be joining Liana to talk about the state of this Survivor episode and all the stuff that went in. PPL? Wait, what? Oh, yeah, L, Liana, yes. Yeah.
I wasn't saying L like a lot.
I was like, are you being insulting to my face in the middle of my plugs? I was like, L, the lovely Liana, of course. Speaking of which, Liana and I do talk Masked Singer. That latest episode was recorded yesterday. Should be up for you to enjoy this weekend. And 90 Day Fiance had Scally on with me. If you're looking to find me off podcast, twitter.com/Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya, and then youtube.com/Pooyaism. We didn't play Goose Goose last week because Easter. A lot of people were away. I did put up a VOD from the second lobby we ever played of Goose Goose. It's weird to look at how different the game is a year and change later. So you can check that out over there and some other content I'm working on.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you